everyone. In this video, we are going to determine the inverse of a linear function. This is the second part. I will put the link of the first part in the description box below. There are 3 steps that we need to follow in order that we can determine the inverse of any function. And we're going to go through these steps using this example right here. The first step is to replace f of x with y. So in this problem right here, this f of x can be replaced with y is equal to, just copy the rest of them. So that would be 2x minus 3 over 5. So that's the first step. The second step is to replace every x with y and replace every y with x and solve for y. So in this problem that we have here, this y will be replaced by x. So I'm going to change this to x, and that is equal to this x right here will be replaced by y. So that would be 2y minus 3 over 5. So that's part of the second step. So we are going to isolate y by itself here. So that's part of the second step. So what are we going to do here is that we can multiply both sides by 5. So I'm going to multiply the right side by 5. I'm going to multiply the left side by 5. So then if we multiply by 5, we can actually cross out the 5 and the 5. So then we are left with 5x is equal to 2y minus 3. Again, the target for this second step is to isolate y by itself. So then from here, we can go ahead and add 3 to both sides, plus 3 and plus 3. So then we can cross this out. We are left with 5x plus 3. That is equal to 2y. Now, I would like to stress this out because others miss this part. They're going to think that this is 8x because you have a 5x plus 3, so that's 8x. Oh, no. That is not the correct way how to do it. Since 5x and 3 are unlike terms, we keep them as a separate term. So that would be 5x plus 3, and we have a 2. Since we want y by itself on the second step, we are supposed to divide this by 2. We divide this by 2, so then I can cross these 2 out. And then I'm just gonna show the rest of the work up here. So what is left here would be 5x plus 3 over 2 is equal to y. And then we move on to the third step. Replace the y of the equation solved in step 2 with f negative 1 of x. So we already have the notation for the inverse. So this would come out 5x plus 3 over 2 is equal to f negative 1 of x. So this is the inverse for this function right here. Now, there is another way to express this. If we want this in slope-intercept form or y equals mx plus b form, we can go ahead and rewrite this as, that's gonna be, remember that this 2 is the denominator for both of them. So that would be the denominator. We can divide 5x by 2. So I can rewrite this as 5x over 2 plus we can also have this the 2 is also a denominator of 3. So then we can go ahead and say that's plus 3 over 2 is equal to y. So what I did here was I used the third step to replace y with f negative 1 of x. That this is the notation for inverse. And what's going on here is that these 2 equations that we have here are actually equivalent. Equivalent means they are just the same equation, but they just come in different form. And so these 2 are actually the inverse of this function right here. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. So we're gonna go over the steps. The first step is to replace f of x with y. So we can rewrite this as y is equal to 4. That's gonna be x minus 3 over 5 plus 7. Now, the second step is to replace every x with y and replace every y with x and solve for y. So in this case right here, we're gonna change the y to x, and that is equal to 4. That is y minus 3 over 5 plus 7. So then from here, we can go ahead and isolate y by itself. That's part of the second step. In order that we can do that, we are going to clear this right side in order that we can have y by itself in there. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides, minus 7. So then we are left with x x minus 7 is equal to 4 parentheses y minus 3 over 5. And this one gets crossed out since we have a plus 7 minus 7 is a 0. So then we are having this equation. So again, our target is to come up with y by itself on this side. So what I'm going to do here is that I can divide both sides by 4, so I can get rid of the 4. So I divide this by 4, so I can cross that out. So we are left with, that's going to be x minus 7 over 4 is equal to y minus 3 over 5. So we can continue the work up here. So I'll show the rest of the work up here. So I'm just going to rewrite this. Okay, so what are we going to do next is, again, we want to clear this side. We only need to have y by itself in there. So we can multiply both sides by 5. So I multiply this by 5 and I multiply this by 5. So then we can cross out the 5 and 5. So we are left with 5 parentheses x minus 4 over, so that's x minus 7, x minus 7 over 4 is equal to y minus 3. So what are we going to do next is we are going to add 3 to both sides because again we want y by itself in there. So plus 3 and plus 3. So then we are left with, that's going to be 5 parentheses x minus 7 over 4 plus 3 is equal to y. So then we can go ahead and move on to the third step. The third step is to replace the y that we solved from the second step with f negative 1 of x. So then the final answer for the inverse would be 5 parentheses x minus 7 over 4 plus 3 equals f negative 1 of x. And this is the inverse of this function up here. Now, if we want this in slope-intercept form, I'm going to show the work up here. Slope-intercept form means y equals mx plus b form. So then what are we going to do is we are going to use this part right here. So I'm just going to rewrite this. We're distributing the 5 to each of the terms inside the parentheses. I'm just going to rewrite that up here. So we're distributing the 5 to each of the terms inside the parentheses. So this would come out 5x minus 35 over 4 plus 3 is equal to y. Again, our target is to have it in y equals mx plus b form. We remember that this 4 is a denominator for both of them. So we can go ahead and rewrite this as 5x over 4 minus, and then this 4 is also a denominator of 35, so that would be minus 35 over 4, and then that is a plus 3 right there is equal to y. So then we can go ahead and simplify this. Now remember that this one right here can be simplified. I'm going to show the work down here. How do we simplify this? So this is going to be negative 35 over 4 plus 3. So then we can go ahead and multiply both sides by 4 over 4 so that we can have the same denominator. So then we can come up with negative 35 over 4 plus 12 over 4, which is actually equal to, so that's going to be negative 35 plus 12 is negative 23 over 4. So pretty much we can rewrite this as, it's going to be 5x over 4. That's minus 23 over 4 is equal to y. So then we apply the third step, replace the y of the equation solved from step 2 with f negative 1 of x. So then we can go ahead and rewrite this as 5x over 4 minus 23 over 4 equals f negative 1 of x. So this is the other way of expressing the inverse of this function in y equals mx plus b form. Did you get the same answers as this? Good. Perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!